Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Unlimited mindset tips, tools, and inspiration for women in a time of change. I'm your host, Valerie Friedlander, ICF certified coach, sociologist, intersectional feminist, artist, mom, and nerd. Today, we are talking about rest that leads to radical joy. And first and foremost, I want to apologize for the audio quality of the intro. I am currently traveling unexpectedly, and this is where we're at. So, some of what we're talking about in this episode have to do with meeting yourself where you're at with rest, performing self-care versus authentic and connective rest, acts of resistance and finding a way forward in uncertainty, connecting to yourself as a starting point for community. And I can't tell you how appropriate this episode is for me right now, and also how much joy it brought me to have this conversation with my friend Jordan Maney. Jordan is the radical joy coach and creator of the Rest Lab. Through her facilitation and coaching, she helps people who give a damn, aka bleeding hearts, learn the radical practice of rest so they can reclaim their joy and sustain their advocacy. She's been featured in New York Magazine, Yahoo, Attention, Oprah Magazine, and Martha Stewart Living. You can find her resting with her friends, family, and her sassy pup, Duchess, in San Antonio, Texas. I know you're going to love this episode, and the audio quality is way better than what I have right now. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome, Jordan. I'm so excited to have you on Mindset Unlimited.
I'm so ready for this conversation.
Yay, me too. I feel like I super need it. So, so let's start off, just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
Well, hey y'all, if you can't tell, I'm from Texas and I call myself the Radical Joy Coach. I help what I call bleeding hearts and people who give a damn rest and prioritize their joy and care so we can sustain our advocacy. And man, do I have a lot to talk about today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like so much. It might even need to be more than one part because this is such an important topic. So let's kick it off with my standard question, which is, what is a limit that you took for granted that you have since unlearned?
Ooh, I hope this applies. I hope I want to make sure that I'm answering this properly.
I'm sure it applies, and there's no right or wrong answer. And I think that there's probably like a ton of them. Pick one.
Okay. So the conversation that we were having prior to this that led into this, and I was like, oh, there it is. That's the word. I itched something in my brain, was a limit that I have practiced, polished, and perfected is the ability to mask and emotionally mask and mentally mask how I'm feeling, suppress my feelings, down to the ground floor so that I can perform and perform perfection, perform happiness, perform joy, perform rest. Oh yeah, I'm good. Everything is okay, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like, I don't know if I had a dark night of the soul or what, but I feel like the past 6 months or so, all of those means of coping, those coping mechanisms, that limit that I thought was this is a thing that I have to maintain. I'm talking particularly to creatives, artists, business owners. This is a limit I have to maintain so that people take me seriously, so that people see me and my work as legitimate, is this idea that I have to mask and create some level of almost mystique. I've said this in my newsletter, The Rest Stop, I don't wanna be the sage on the mountaintop. I wanna be among people. I wanna be an example that, you can reach out to. I don't wanna be this inaccessible, version of myself where it's rest, joy, and care become aspirational, and I feel like what's held me back in my work that now I'm really excited to see what happens
Mhm.
is I feel like I've had to play a part, um, and be, like, cutesy about it or be, like, I don't know, but just not feel, like, settled into myself. Um, and now it just feels like I'll give an example. You know how social media, like, let's say social media 5 or so years ago, pre-COVID,
Mhm.
we talked about, like, social media channels as if, like, you had to have a different personality on each one.
Mhm.
Like, LinkedIn, you need to be super professional, but the way that you are on LinkedIn, you can't be on Instagram, and the way that you're on Instagram, you can't be on YouTube and Pinterest and so on and so forth. And I've just gotten to a place where I'm like, I am exhausted by that pretense, like, that limit that I feel I didn't even realize was a limit. I feel like I didn't even recognize I was so practiced at it until I realized how tired I was from, like, holding it up,
Yeah.
and I just, like, don't wanna do it anymore. I just, like, don't. I The world is changing, it's always changing, but I feel like it's been changing rapidly in very uncertain and uncomfortable ways,
Mhm.
and I guess if you look at human history, it's always been like that, but right now it feels like it's so rapid,
Yeah.
and I don't have the wherewithal, especially right now with things being so uncertain. I'm not gonna use the COVID word, unprecedented.
Yeah, right?
Ugh, we're so tired of that. Take it out
So
of the
tired.
dictionary.
What that meme, it's like, "When can I live in precedented times?"
Yeah.
But I don't know that we want those either, right? Like, I think what's been precedented hasn't been great either, just as
Mm-mm.
a note. So, like, maybe that's not actually the thing to be focused on.
Exactly. So, yeah, I feel like for the time that we're in, if we want new, it requires new within us first, individually. And,
Yeah.
like, a lot of this was brought on by the chaos of the outer world, and I felt like I had to get absolute friggin' clarity on my inner world, or otherwise my nervous system was always gonna be like, like, screaming every day. And then how am I supposed to help you rest
Yeah.
if I'm like, like, so,
Yeah.
like, how do you make peace with what is? And I just feel like that limiting belief also, that fear around, like, I have to present a certain way to be listened to. I have to be, you know, especially as a business owner, it has to look this way. It has to be this blueprint. It has to be this system. And I don't know what the term is. I haven't really felt like a business owner this past year. I felt more like an artist. I felt more like someone who, like, is creating conversations, is creating
Mm.
opportunities and spaces for people to rest. I don't know if that applies, but that feels better than saying, like, I'm a business owner because it doesn't feel, like, strict anymore. It doesn't feel rigid. It feels more playful and experimental and, like, fun. But anyways, that's a very long-winded answer to say.
Well, no, I love it. I love it because well, one, we spoke a while back. It might have
Mm,
even been last year. I don't remember. Time is just a weird thing. And
construct.
your like your energy is different. Like you mentioned
Mhm,
having gone through this shift and I feel it talking to you. Like I almost just feel calmer talking to
mhm.
you. I mentioned beforehand like there's just a lot going on in my life right now on so many different levels and so many different areas and I can just feel that settledness coming like, emanating from you, so
Yeah.
it's fabulous, and I also really resonate with that idea of performance,
Mm,
of what's expected, and it's like, I come from this background of I was bullied as a kid, like, I learned to be a chameleon. How do I fit in? How to make people comfortable so that I can be comfortable, right? How do
mhm,
or so
mhm.
that I can feel safe even.
Yeah.
And really trying to push out of that, of, like, having a voice, showing up, doing uncomfortable things so that I can help seed the change that I believe is needed in the world And it feels like, as a business owner,
Mhm.
that there are certain things that you're supposed to do. Like you were saying, like how you show up in certain places. Because I feel like, while I'm not really interested in being some sort of guru or whatever, there seems like, especially in these spaces that we occupy, there's this expectation
Mhm.
that that is what you're supposed to look for. And I don't know if that's just me and like what I'm getting fed by algorithms, right? Or
You're
if
not
it's
off, no.
what is out there, but like I feel like the wellness industry that is
Oh
like
my god.
billions of dollars and gross
So gross.
makes this space like you do have to look a certain way, show up a certain way in order to
Mhm.
be taken seriously in your ability to be of service, which I actually think is antithetical to your actual ability to be of service, just like what you were saying of like, and what I feel from you, that groundedness, that
Mhm.
presence to be able to show up in that.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
So, okay, I'm taking notes. That's why I'm looking down.
Yeah,
It's like I'm trying to take
that's
notes because,
great.
like, you're saying things that are like, "Oh my god, yes, I wanna talk about this." So, when you're talking about learning to be a chameleon, having come from a traumatic experience of being, like, bullied and, like, same, it made me think of a seesaw, and people who do physics and know physics stuff, please forgive me if I'm getting the terminology wrong here. But, like, the thing that the board itself is balanced on is a fulcrum, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, so I remembered
that one I
something.
know.
Thanks, Mr. Wyckoff. If you're used to being the thing that other people balance on,
Yeah.
do you see where I'm
Yeah, oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And you're used to being the metric that kinda like, "Okay, I'm the one who keeps the energy, or I'm the one who makes entertains people, or I'm the one who, like, is constantly checking levels of everyone else." Like, you're so, like, attuned to what everybody else is doing. Like, how are you ever doing that for yourself?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of learning how to rest and a lot of learning how to, like, make peace in your inner world is taking that board off and, like, without the weight of or the pressure of other people's emotional needs and regulation, like, where am I?
Mhm. Yeah,
What am I feeling?
and that's so hard. We were talking before about being real. Like you mentioned, rest and joy and care being these aspirational things, and so often we think, "Oh, I have to just extract myself from the world, from
Mhm.
reality to be able to know myself, to be able to understand myself," and that feels impossible.
Yes.
And it is, like, we don't exist in a bubble. We're not going to suddenly become in a bubble.
Yeah.
What does it look like to access that space while still existing in the world?
Mm. For me, it's like I have to be in a way that I wasn't before. I have to be so regimented about the reserves I give myself in terms of if that's quiet time, if that's, I really need to be sleeping better, whatever that looks like. I'd be really regimented about those because I know what happens when I get out of whack, so to speak. But the other part of that is where the experimentation and the playfulness comes into is like, it doesn't, I said regimented, but it doesn't have to be rigid.
Mhm.
There are simply going to be days, situations, that we're life is nothing but a constant flux of transitions, right? Like your needs that you had in 2024 may be different in 2025. Your family life that you had in 2023 may be different in 2025. Like things are constantly changing around you and going back to the balance model. I think mentally a lot of us think of balance as this very static 50% over here, 50% over there at all times. And it's more like I think of water, it's more fluid
Yeah.
and it's balancing. Sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less, but, like
I've used the term lava lamp. It's like a lava
Exactly
lamp,
that.
very gloopy.
Very gloopy. Like, it's not going to be perfect. Rest is not meant to be precise. And a huge part of, like, learning that skill is also giving yourself a tremendous amount of grace.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the reasons why I'm like, ugh, I don't even like using the term wellness industry because it's like, again, rest and joy and care should not be aspirational. They are necessities. Like, they're just things that we all need in our life. And coming to that realization can be really difficult, but you don't need to make yourself feel worse because, like, oh, I really wanted to rest this week and I didn't get a chance to. And I had one-on-one clients, that would be something that I would constantly be like, okay, and why didn't what happened this weekend? Well, I had to take a family member to the ER, or I realized that there was like this big project and I got called in for work. And like, so there are reasons. So why are you making yourself the culprit as if you stole rest from yourself when you're just like trying to survive?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important because then we just drain ourselves even more when we beat ourselves
Yeah.
up. I also see a lot of clients who like have enough self-awareness to like, I shouldn't be beating myself up. So I'm beating myself up for beating myself up. And it's like,
Yeah.
girl.
It doesn't,
No.
guilt is like the cousin of shame, and both of them are not sustainable motivators.
Hmm.
Like, I feel like I think about, oh my God, I think about, tales of growing up chubby. I think about, like, all the, like, and I was looking in my old Winnie the Pooh journal I had when I was, like, 10, and I just, like, I didn't cry, but I just, like, hugged myself because there was an entry where I was just like, "I'm finally gonna, like, get my life together and really start, like, losing weight," and, like, and I was 10.
Hmm.
Might have been 9 at the time. I was a child, but, like, just this idea that, like, I had a moment of shame or because, like, this guilt and, like, "Okay, I'm gonna, like, step into action." Did that help me have less disordered eating? No. Did that give me a positive relationship to my body? No. Did those moments make me, like, find, physical movement that I enjoyed? No. It just produced more shame. That's all shame knows how to do. And
Yeah.
so that's all shame knows how to do is produce more shame. And so when we say like, "Oh god, I really should have like rested," is that going to give you a positive reason to want to rest? Is that going to make you feel good when it is time to rest, or is it going to make you feel anxious or hesitant to try it because you know you're probably going to beat yourself up for not doing it the right way?
Yeah. It's like another tool of the system to keep us from resting
Mhm.
is creating a negative association with doing the thing that we need.
Yeah. And like trying to pretend it's even calling it recreation or leisure makes it seem like a really fun option versus like, no, it's just a necessity. Everybody needs to sleep every day. Everybody needs time, quality time with themselves, with their loved ones. We need moments where we're not like in a building, but we're outside and smelling fresh air and feeling the sun on our skin. We need opportunities to like remind ourselves of those things that we really liked or wanted when we were kids. We need opportunities to explore our neighborhoods and our communities, to try new things, make an absolute fool of ourselves to create memories. Like, everything should not only be about production.
Mhm.
And in fact, we produce better when we've rested. But we then create narratives around, like, oh, only the tortured artist can really create like masterful work. And that's also not true.
Yeah.
This like negative association is so like, it frustrates me because I have to check myself when I internalize it too. But it just can't stand it.
Well, it's so hard not to internalize because we're so surrounded. It's like the waters that we swim in.
Yeah.
And so just knowing, I mean, that's when you were talking about the unmasking or the recognizing these different layers of, oh, I didn't even realize that I was wearing a mask. It's just become
Yeah.
so part like the performing these things has just become so natural that I was deluded in thinking that it was just the way I was, that I am doing these things,
Mhm.
even though I'm not actually. I feel like it's like the Truman Show, right? Like,
100%.
like I think that I'm living in real life, and then suddenly it's like,
Mhm.
wait a second, but I'm who am I? What is this other? And I feel like at least I found that there's so many layers to it that, like, I uncover one piece, I'm like, "Oh, there's a piece of myself." And that means, what does that need? And showing up to that, but then that leads to another uncovery that's like, "Oh, well, that doesn't actually work because there's this other piece of myself that I didn't even realize until I
Mhm.
did this thing, and then this opened up and I went, oh, okay, so this looks different." Like you were saying about different, like, I'm different this year than I was, like, 2 years ago. I The only constant in life is change, and that's true for me. And those masks, it's not that I'm doing anything wrong, it's just that I'm learning. "Ooh, I'm capable of growing." How cool.
Mhm. Fun. Like, this
Yeah.
is good. This is great. And you're right. Like I'm gonna try and say this because it's not like fully realized in my head, but
Mhm.
when the only constant is change, is a current of change, right? You need to learn how to swim.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means floating. Sometimes that means swimming on your side. Sometimes I really love swimming. Sometimes that means doing a backstroke, right? Like the water is always going to find a way to move. It's dynamic, such is life. We have to find a way within it. And sometimes you're in a season where the best thing that you can do is float. And that's fine too. And I think that's kind of where, for me, in this work, where I got stuck was trying to make rest this static thing, but it's not. It's an intuitive thing. I need to be able to have a system of like, how do I check in with myself? How am I feeling right now? And not only just like a system of checking in with myself, but also of just kind of like recognizing patterns. Like, what's a pattern recognition um, in yourself? I know when I am closest to burnout is I get this thing in my head where I'm like, hit the gas. It's time. We got to go in even harder on something. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. No, no, no. I know I need to rest after this, but I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine until I'm not. And then I'm like, damn, I should have listened to myself.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this work, a lot of resting is really just learning to listen to yourself.
Well, and I'm hearing, like, it's not even it's listening to yourself, listening to the patterns, not necessarily the exact words that your brain may be generating or the impulses that your body is sending. It might be saying, do the opposite of what you actually need to do,
Yeah.
and recognizing, like, and that's one of the things, like, I can do that way better for my husband, as an
Mhm.
example, than I can for myself, and one of the things I've noticed is that when he's starting to get hangry, he notices every little pile in the house and everything that hasn't been taken care of, and he
Mhm.
starts nitpicking about everything, and he's like, "And there's this, and we gotta do this," and he's doing I'm like, "Hey, I think maybe do we need to eat?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, we've got to take care of these other things and we've got to deal with this first and I'll eat later because I've got to do this." I'm like, could we do maybe food now?"
Mhm.
And he started to notice because I was able to notice it
Yeah.
and call it out. So now he's a little bit more aware of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, giving ourselves that space, or even if we have someone that we live with, like, what do you notice? And being open
Mhm.
to receiving those awareness pieces.
Yeah. Because our perception of ourself is not complete.
Mhm.
People notice that, and oftentimes we think we're a lot better about, like, hiding things than we are. Like, so we think, "Oh, no way no one clocked that," and everybody's like, "Yeah, we could tell,
Uh-huh.
could tell." So, yeah, I think it's, like, the pattern recognition, I think it's the ability to listen to yourself, but then I think it's also, like one of my dear friends, we've been having a conversation about essentially, like, when you're so good at spinning plates, who are you when you stop?
Mhm.
And I think that applies for a lot of moms, parents in general, but a lot of moms who have kids who are either at that age where they're just getting to that place of like adulthood, or they're more like self-sufficient or empty nesters of just kind of like, okay, you don't need me to manage that anymore or do that thing. Like, who am I when I don't have to keep spinning plates? Who am I when I get quiet? I think that's a huge part of why a lot of people subconsciously avoid rest is because who wants to answer those big questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants to answer those big questions. Nobody wants to be like, "Oh boy, like this relationship isn't working out. I don't feel rested. I don't feel restful when I'm with this partner or this friendship." Or I don't feel maybe you don't feel restful where you live. Like when it gets quiet and rest allows for a lot of like internal quiet,
Mhm.
the whole world could be screaming at you, but like if you're trying to like find that level, so to speak, in yourself, things get real quiet and those things that you like try and like outrun or out busy or however you try to like keep it at a distance, when they pop up, it's like you can't avoid them anymore.
Yeah. That's when you have to face uncomfortable truths
Yeah.
about yourself and your situation and things that exactly the stuff that you might have been trying to avoid without even realizing you were
Hmm.
using busyness to avoid it.
Yeah. I want to give an example of myself. I wasn't just using busyness, I was using my business
Mhm.
as an example to like push things off, constantly coming up with something new to like launch or like some new like concept that was gonna like take it to the next level and blah 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 blah. And I'll be just like this online coach or this person has this like system that I haven't seen before. And like I need and I think it was I think it was our mutual friend who I adore, Becky. We were doing some like exercise and it was something just clicked in my head. And it was something that another person that we don't know, but like a famous coach in like Australia or something, came up with this system. But it was basically like a chat GPT model. And we're going through it. And something like clicked in my head where I was like, we're just making shit up. We're just making all of us are just making things up. And so, like, you might have found something that works for you and your audience, and that's incredible. But does that mean it's going to work for me? Does it mean it's going to work for my audience? No. But blueprints are comforting.
Mhm.
Someone telling you, like, this is the way is like lovely. It's like, oh God, I don't have to brave the wilderness. Cool. But I think if you're doing work that helps people like look at their life, you're out in the sticks with a machete, like, trying to make a way, and that can be uncomfortable.
Yeah. The unknown is scary.
It's scary as hell. Nobody wants to be out there. Nobody wants to be out there, and yet, sometimes that's just the position that you're playing. That might have been something that you just decided you wanted to do, like and I think if you're someone who's entrepreneurial or artistic or just, like, trying to do something that's, like, different,
Mhm.
that is the trade-off of, like, you might get a lot of flexibility in your schedule and all these other, like, perks. I won't air quote them, they are perks, right? But
Mhm.
then you also have to figure out, like, what the hell to do every day. There's no, like, boss telling you what to do. You have to figure out what you wanna do every day. You have to figure out how you wanna create something. If there's a framework, you make that, like, you are blazing that trail.
Mhm.
And so, trying to do that without resting is almost always going to lead you to a place where you're just, like, stuck in the middle of the woods, like, "How the hell did I get here?"
Yeah. Yeah, the capacity to do that, and you said a word that actually hit me in a particular way when you mentioned the audience.
Mm,
And and I think, we have these particular words about, obviously the podcast has an audience, right? Like that
mm.
is a thing. And the question that I keep coming up with is like this, how do I have an audience and not perform?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. Honestly, I don't that's something that I think I've been wrestling with too. It's not something I have a definitive answer for yet. In my mind, visually, what I see for myself is like the same way the stage comes off of the mountaintop, like the actor coming off of the stage.
Break the third wall.
Yeah, if I'm breaking that and I'm with you, is it still performing or is it something like lateral?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's a question of like when is performing problematic?
Mm,
And
mm.
when is it helpful, right? Like
Yeah.
an actor on stage. So I think about like we're talking about masks and stuff, and my older son just did a program at a theater here in Chicago that their theme it was a bunch of teenagers, like 14
Mhm.
to 18-year-olds working together, exploring themselves, improvising around the theme rest and resistance and generating. I mean,
Love.
it was so cool. Like then they ended up creating these vignettes essentially
Mhm,
exploring, and what I really saw in that was this tension of his generation seeing all of the issues
mhm.
that they're dealing with, but like recognizing them. Like when I was his age, I was certainly dealing with them, but like I didn't know. I didn't
Yeah.
understand at the level that I do now, at the level that he understands about identities and identity politics and these systems of oppression and all of these things that he has a cognition around now, but like is grappling with. And he helped create this scene around masculinity.
Ooh,
And it was
love.
around the mask of masculinity. It's so cool. Even though he was like, it didn't hit the depths. Like he felt like it was a little bit more performative
Mhm.
and calling it out in a nice way. And he's like, I feel
Yeah.
like it wasn't as true as he wanted it to be, is what he was
Mhm.
saying. And that's the kind of thing that kind of comes to mind is like, I feel like those sorts of explorations, that artistic exploration, it's performance and it's
Yeah,
powerful and it's representation of how we understand what our experiences are. It's like that mirror to ourselves.
yeah,
And so that's helpful. That kind of performance is powerful and helpful.
yeah.
So, as a human being, as a person speaking to many people,
Mhm.
and as someone who wants to show up as authentically and as real as I can while navigating an industry and a world that
Yeah.
says that in order to be listened to, I have to be on a pedestal.
Mhm.
What does it look like for me to navigate that? And I think as you were talking about it, it's like rest is how
Mhm.
I stay connected to that. How I don't go like let my head float off into
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
world. It's like staying embodied,
Yeah,
staying connected,
yeah.
and resting and
Mhm.
communing within my own being.
Okay, so yes, everything you said, it just sounds wonderful, and I love it. I really feel like a performance requires a character, and I think a performance is about providing something for an audience, right? Something outside of yourself for an audience. You're telling a story. Stories, narrative, and performance are not bad things, right? You're telling a story to evoke or provoke a feeling out of the people who are witnessing it.
Mhm.
When you're in relationship with people, you should not need to feel that like you have to evoke or provoke a feeling because that then becomes manipulation. Like if you're doing it for 90 minutes to 3 hours in a black box theater, that's different. We've agreed to those terms. As an audience member, I'm coming to hear a story. I'm coming to see something that's gonna make me feel something. I'm gonna leave here with something, right? But when you're in a relationship with a person, you're asking kind of the not kind of, you're asking for the opposite. I don't need the polish. I don't need you to manipulate a feeling for me. I need you to step outside of the character and just show me who's behind that.
Mhm.
Let me witness. It's like it's they're both witnessing, but it's
Mhm.
like different. It's like witness me and like I witness you and we witness each other and we just be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like I'm going to make you feel a thing and you're going to make me feel a thing. There's no emotional manipulation involved. It's like emotional rest maybe, like, I see you and I see your imperfections and, like, yeah, girl, I'm over here just trying to do my thing in our friendships and our partnerships, in our relationships with, like, kids, like, all these things, like, it's not a story that I'm telling you, it's a story that you're seeing. Does that make sense? Like, one's show, one's tell.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, even in all of it with the performance part, there's a big facet of intentionality
Mhm.
and agreement,
Yes, agreement.
right? Either way, when you said that word agreement, it was like, yeah, as a as a performer. So I have a background in theater too. So like
Love.
that's another layer to it. But there is a difference in intentionally saying, this is what I'm going to provide for you. I am going to tell you a
Mhm.
story. I am
Mhm.
going to weave a picture
Yeah.
for you to reflect on, to experience, to whatever. And the audience comes in with that agreement. I'm agreeing to you sharing this art with me
Mhm.
versus I am pretending either to myself and or to you. And if I'm pretending to myself, I'm also pretending to you.
Ooh.
Well, that's something that I really learned as I'm being authentic. There's a document that talks about, like, characteristics of adult children of alcoholics that I
Mhm.
saw, like, when I was in college, and one of them was that adult children of alcoholics tend to lie.
Mhm.
And I was like, "I tell the truth. I tell the truth to the fault. I tell everybody all the things more than I should." And it took me a while to realize that's not how this hits for me. It might hit that way for other people, but for me, it hits that I struggle to tell myself the truth.
Mhm.
And if I struggle to tell myself the truth, I am struggling to tell you the truth. And so, really, that unlocked so much to realize, oh, I need to seek the truth
Yeah.
for myself. Like, that, as we were talking about earlier, like that uncovering of truth and knowing that it is always evolving. Truth is ever evolving. So if I can be a seeker of truth in myself and in others, then
Mhm.
I have that intentionality around what I'm doing and how I'm showing up. So if I'm being truthful with myself, then I can say, here's what I'm doing. Do you agree?
Mhm.
Are you agreeing to be in this honest relationship versus me manipulating you, thinking, saying one thing and doing another thing? Or
Yeah.
it's that difference between meeting somebody where they're at and the narrative that so many people sell of tell people what they want to hear and then give them what they need, which assumes that I know what they need
Exactly, and that might not be the case.
and is very manipulative. That creates that hierarchy in
Mhm.
my mind.
I think the other part when you were talking about, like, the agreement, it made me think about, like, just going to a theater, all the things that you agree to and the experience of being in the theater. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm going to be attentive. I'm not gonna look at my phone. I'm going to, suspend, disbelief and be with you in this moment. I'm going to be present, right? And then when you tell me this is done, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, I felt all the things. I might have cried, blah, blah, blah," and then I'm going to go. And that was that moment. And I think for me, it's like a momentary contract. For me, coming from events and weddings, it was the same
Mm.
thing. We can produce
Mhm.
a momentary contract where, like, we're going to set the scene for you to come into this event and you're going to navigate through this event, this milestone moment, going to be perfect.
Mhm.
It's going to be this bubble where you get to experience all the things and all the feels. We're going to be present together. And then when I tell you it's done, it's done. And it's easier to do that. Performance is
Mhm.
easy. The opposite of that is like when you don't have the lines memorized and you have to come up with the words yourself, or you don't know that this scene I'm going to have to play to this emotion. It's just coming up out of you. That's different. And so, like,
Mhm.
I know Shakespeare was like, all the world's a stage. It's something else. It's not just a stage, it's something else. And I think in our relationships and our friendships, all of these things, it's really 2 people deciding to, like, live alongside each other,
Mhm.
and let me see your bad, and you can see my bad, and I'll see your ugly, and you'll see my ugly, but you'll also see my joy, and also see my grief, and I put this in, a newsletter, and I don't know why, but this scene just, like, hits for me so hard. Did you see Kate Winslet in, Mayor of Easttown on HBO, came out a few years ago?
No, I didn't, but I remember going, "Oh, I should watch this." I haven't yet.
No spoilers. There's a scene in which her character is with another character, and Kate's character just holds out her arms like, "I know you need a hug." And her friend was just kind of like, "No, no, I can't." And she just holds her arms out like, "Please just, like, come here." No words are being spoken. And so she just turns, her friend just turns, doesn't open up her arms, doesn't, like, reciprocate, and she just kind of falls into Kate. It's such a powerful scene. It's acted superbly, and I think about that all the time because I think in a lot of ways when it comes to individual rest, collective rest, what it looks like to rest in a community, it's that feeling we all want of knowing that if I fall, because they sink to the floor, like it's that heavy of a moment, but she still holds her.
Mhm.
And we all want that. Like, if I fall, if I were really to give you everything, could you hold me?
Yeah.
And that is I don't know what the word is. I really don't. I'm trying to figure that out for myself, but the opposite of performance and like I'm not adding a character to me, right? I'm not adding an experience. I'm taking stuff off.
Mhm.
And can you still witness that?
Yeah.
And can I be okay if I'm vulnerable in that way? Can I still come from a place of strength to know that like even if it's not what you want or you just this person decides to leave or go, it's still okay. It's still enough. It's still lovable. It's still safe,
Yeah.
you know? And it's
Yeah.
crazy that
Yeah.
something as simple as like rest can lead us to those types of conversations because it seems simple, like, yeah, just go rest. Sure, but it's such a the more I dive into the work, the more I realize this is such a skill.
Yeah.
It is a skill to be able to say, "You know what? I've done enough. I've done enough today." And not berate yourself, not make yourself feel bad, not be overcome with, "Oh my god, there's so much more I could do tomorrow." Like, it's a skill to be present with yourself even when you don't feel good, even when you feel like crying. It's a skill to be present with other people, to say, "I'm gonna slow down when everything in my brain is like, accelerate." To say, like, "Actually, we're going to slow down here and pace ourselves."
Mhm.
It's such a skill and it touches on every facet of our lives, and it's really one of the things that I say is rest is a vehicle to our joy. It's not the only one, but because it's a skill that you learn, because we have to teach babies. You literally have to teach babies. Babies fight rest, physical rest all the time. But because it's a skill that we learn and joy is this thing that doesn't have to be produced. Joy is really more about just making space for it. It is always, like, running parallel to us if we give ourselves enough time to, like, take a moment and really look at your partner and be like, "Oh my god, I love you."
Mhm.
Or the joy of being like, "I'm gonna get in roller skates." I haven't been in roller skates since I was, like, 12 years old. I'm gonna fall flat on my ass, and I'm going to laugh my ass off and enjoy this moment and, like, memories that I create with either strangers or new people. It's always parallel
Yeah.
to what we've got going on. But so oftentimes we think we have to like fight for it or do all this stuff when really it's just kind of like, can you slow down and take a moment to just like see it for what it is and realize it's not something that we can hold on to.
Mhm. It's in the present moment.
It only lives in the present moment. We can look back at memories and be like, oh my gosh, maybe not feel it the same way, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same like intensity, but it's not meant to. We're supposed to let it visit, and when it goes, but know that it can come to us at any time. But I think it's just very interesting that, like, there are brands who have, like, joy advocates now, but they're really just spokespeople selling you products, or, like, this idea that it's a commodified thing that you can buy. But how many billionaires do we know that seem joyful?
Yeah, right?
It seems so happy, like, super okay, totally normal behavior, right? Like, no. But you can't get there if you don't allow that quiet and that rest internally to happen first. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, where they're like, I rested, but I don't feel restful.
Yeah.
I did that thing I was supposed to do. I went on that retreat, but I still feel really burned out. And it's like, but did you answer those questions that rest brought to you? Did you look in the mirror and see those parts of yourself where you're like, oh, I contributed to the exhaustion I felt because I let myself stay in this relationship and I didn't communicate my needs. Oh, I don't know how to communicate my needs because I didn't have an example of that growing up, and I need to come up with one.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not on the path that I want to be in my life right now. Like, it's so interconnected to all of these things, and it is really rest is a light that shines on the darkest edges of us and just asks us, like, "What do you wanna do with this?"
Mhm. Yeah, well, it's truth,
Mhm,
seeking those pieces of truth. Rest gives room for that. And when you're talking about babies, the thing that comes to mind is how many of us were like the idea that sleep training,
mhm,
and it doesn't actually teach babies to sleep, it teaches them abandonment.
mhm.
And so, like, rest, even at that very basic level, I could see how that would get conflated with fear.
Yeah.
And that question of, like, when I most need someone, will I be held?
Mhm.
Are these parts of myself that need care, that are vulnerable and need someone else to hold them, are they lovable?
Mhm.
Will somebody hold them?
Mhm.
And so much of that parenting advice when we were growing up was very counter to that.
Yeah.
And a lot of us are unlearning it, but we might be unlearning it after we've already perpetrated it. I
Mhm.
know with my older child, that was like we thought, well, you sleep train. And now, of course, I know differently, but okay. So he has a
Yeah.
therapist, but like, I say that jokingly, but I do think like what you were talking about before of like, it's the act of seeking rest, even to say, I'm worthy of this. And we run into obstacles like this resistance. I'm going to go the opposite direction and be like, okay, instead of like, no, you have to rest. It's, oh, there's a part of me that's scared of this.
Mhm.
How do I care for that part of me that I know this is important and I have a resistance? And there's part of me that is scared.
Yeah.
How do I care for that part of me so I can make room for this thing that I know I need? Instead of, again, shame and beating ourselves
Mhm.
up for not doing the thing. It's like, no, part of me, or even the world that I live in. Like you said a while back in this conversation, I'm just
Yeah.
surviving in this world that is designed to keep me from
Mhm.
resting and keep us to varying degrees. How much of this is my own creation that I need to care for, and how much of this is other outside of me? And, what can I do with the capacity that I have to help others create room for
Yeah.
this? Especially those who may have social systems that push against rest even more than they push against me resting.
Yeah.
I have to extricate those pieces that I've internalized so that I can expand that ability,
Yeah.
that right to rest beyond myself.
Do we have time for me to add on to that?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay, cool.
I did say, I'm like, I feel like this is going to go longer than.
So, one of the really important pieces of this year for me was when everything in the present and the future looks bleak, I had to look to the past.
Mm.
So, I read, oh shit, on Toni Morrison, Audre Lorde. I looked at James Baldwin. I went further. I looked at Zora Neale Hurston, particularly for me, Black writers, because it's like, how have they talked about rest and joy and care and healing, because rest is just a subset underneath that. And then also, like, older Black people in my life who, like, one of the family friend and, like, as a church member at the church my parents go to, she's, like, almost 90 years old. Sweetest little lady. She's pocket-sized. I could just, like, do this and pick her up. She's so tiny. But I remember asking her, I think it was, like, right after election results, like, that Sunday, like, right after. And I'm just kinda, how did you do this?" And I know for her, and I'm gonna try and generalize it, for her specifically, she was like, it was a big part of, like, her faith, of, like, trusting something outside of her that we're gonna be okay. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with a park ranger at one of the missions and a friend, and we were talking about faith. I was in a place of, like, kinda deconstructing my own, of, like, figuring out, like, what's mine, what's not mine type thing, and they're an atheist, and I was just kind of, like, doing that very reflexive thing of, like, you come out of something, you're to the very opposite, and they were like, Hold on," and I was like, "Well, what do you mean, hold on? Like, you get to say, like, 'Oh, no, I don't think for me there's anything else.'" And they were like, "Yeah, but, like, I grew up upper middle class, like, in Connecticut, white, I don't have" do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have the same stuff against me. So, like, it makes sense for people, particularly people of color, people who have been, like, demonized, killed, maimed, legally incentivized to not exist anymore, right? That you would need something or look for something outside of yourself to keep going on a, like, cultural and historical lens, of course, of course. And so when she was sharing with me, it was kind of, I felt that conversation again of, like, of course you need something outside of yourself to get through the moment that we're in now. And it was the same thing that resonated when I was, like, rereading some of Zora Neale Hurston's work, when I was looking at James's work. There's a liberatory lens to joy and rest, especially when it's done on a collective level. When I think of, neighborhoods that have been bombed or burned, or, Jim Crow South, and not just the South, right? The most vulnerable of us. And still there's a sense of, like, I have to find that inner rest. I have to find that inner joy. I have to prioritize that. And I have to do that on a collective level with people who I know recognize it as just as precious as theirs, and will help me cultivate more of it, and will help me nurture what I do have of it. And I think a lot of the discomfort that we're feeling right now is that there's, like, a spectrum of people willing to contend with that inner world when everything in the outer world feels like shit, and feels uncertain, and feels scary, and feels like, "Can I trust you? Are you a good person, or do you want me to die?" Like, are we, like, when everything feels like that level of anxiety, and we continue to normalize as this anxiety increases and increases and increases, like, with no end in sight, if we don't learn how to slow down, listen to what our bodies are telling us, listen to what we're feeling. If we don't learn how to contend with that inner world, how are we ever going to contend with the outer world? Ever. Myrlie Evers Williams, the wife who survived Medgar Evers, who was assassinated in their driveway in front of their kids.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
There's a really wonderful, very well done interview with her and Gail King for, I think, CBS Morning News. And Gail asked her, like, "Did you ever want revenge?" And I think of this quote every freaking day, where she's like, "Revenge, yes, by doing well, by being well." She was able to not only, like, champion her husband's legacy, but do so many incredible things, incredible advocacy through, like, the NAACP and so many other organizations, because she was able to prioritize, like, no matter how much you're going to try and steal joy from me, you can't. And I think some people are waking up to that reality. I need more people to wake up to that reality, that, like, if the most vulnerable of us are saying that even in my death, that is something that you cannot take from me,
Mhm.
wake up.
Mhm. Yeah.
There's a liberatory angle to this. And, like, people haven't been saying rest is resistance, like, for kicks.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important, as we have this conversation also as a white woman,
Mhm.
for me to acknowledge that there's a lot of co-opting
Yeah.
of that idea from other white people,
Yeah.
especially white women in the wellness industry, co-opting this idea of like, oh, I'm in a bathtub, I'm
Mhm.
resting, like, look, I'm resisting and stuff. And I think, I have found that, that idea that, oh, I don't need people, like, it's okay. I don't need something outside of myself
Mm.
because I've had all these privileges. Well, yes, I have all these privileges. And that's part of the issue.
Mhm.
Me thinking that I don't need anybody
Mhm.
else or that I don't need something bigger than myself to tap into this idea of collective and understanding that I am part of a
Yeah.
collective. How I move in the world has an impact.
Yeah.
And if I'm in denial of that, then I am likely to weaponize how I move in the world without realizing it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a whole like me resting, it is a resistance because I live in a society that wants me to burn out
Mhm.
and not have capacity and autopilot into these destructive behaviors, both for myself and for other people,
Mhm.
to be able to be manipulated into the system of oppression. And because I have less of the oppression of the systems, that doesn't excuse me to, like, bliss out.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't listen to the news. I don't pay attention to what's happening, so I'm gonna be no, I have a responsibility to do my work
Mhm.
so that I have room in myself for rest, so that I am not perpetuating that idea that people shouldn't rest onto others, because that's what I would do
Mhm.
if I didn't do that own unpacking work of myself, and then, like I mentioned, create more room for people and recognize that, well, I do have more capacity there. Like,
Mm.
how do I make room for myself so that I can make room for others,
Mhm.
recognizing that how I move matters in terms of everyone else. And whether I believe in a higher power or not,
Yeah.
to believe in a collective and my part in that.
Yes, and, like, how do we champion humanity when we also don't want to be a part of humanity? And, like, that for me was,
Yeah.
spirituality as a concept of, like, contributing to something bigger than yourself, and then not necessarily having to be tied to a specific religion. If it is from a standpoint of, like, you wanting to be a better person and a better person to other people, I don't have the space nor the authority to put you anywhere, right? You do you, boo, right? Like, you do you. For me specifically, a lot of that comes from, like, how do I be a better human? How do I help other people be human?
Yeah.
Feel like they can be human. And a lot of times, like, I would have a lot of executive director from nonprofits do one-on-one coaching, particularly in 2024. And a big lesson was like, you know how to organize a community. You do not know how to be in community.
Mm.
You know how to, again, be the sage at the mountaintop. You know how to create that distance. You know how to be on the stage. You know how to be put on a pedestal, but you don't know how to be amongst people. You don't know how to let people hold you. You're used to doing the holding.
Mm.
And what would that gift people for you to say, yo, I need it too? Like, I know that I've done that for you. I'm not saying it from a place of, like, it has to be, like, 100% reciprocity or whatever, but, like, in this moment, I need that too. What would that give people to see, like, leadership like that? Like, "Hey, I don't have it all figured out." You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
like, there's this liberatory aspect to rest and joy and care, and I had to sit with, like, on a personal ancestral level and also, like, in the greater, like, context of being Black and being a Black American. What has it look like for Black women who came before me to rest, to take care of themselves and each other, and to still, like, allow space for joy
Mm.
when
Mhm.
all the things, all the
Mhm.
bad things are happening around you, possibly to you, someone else that you know? How do you still create a life that's joyful amongst a lot of grief and despair, how do you still create room within yourself to rest? But also, how do you also create relationships where you feel like you can rest with someone, just be?
Mhm.
And so some of that is like it's an incomplete picture because I do think every generation has, in terms of human history, I think every generation has a responsibility to like add to this narrative, improve
Mhm.
something, add something, maybe subtract something, but like we're all trying to add on to that story. But for me, it was seeing the ways that like most of the Black history I got was not from school, was from like after school programs or like weekend programs that like a lot of Black sororities put on. The AKAs, the Deltas would like have stuff like printed booklets, all that other stuff. They're volunteering their time to teach you about X, Y, and Z. Like a lot of that came through church stuff too, but like where are we as a community, especially if it's like if it's not church, like it isn't for most people, where are we as a community, not just making online the third place?
Mhm.
Where
Mhm.
are we showing up for that education that has nothing to do with whether some, let me not cuss too hard, whether some scum nugget from
Yeah.
wherever
Yes.
the hell is like, "Yeah, I want my babies to learn about how history." Shut up. Um, where are we convening? Where are we coming together?
Yeah.
What is the internet going to look like? But what is like in person going
Yeah.
to look like, where we rest together, where we learn together, where we grow together? And those things can't be scaled.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Those happen with
Yeah.
time. And I
Yeah.
know that's a separate conversation, but like those things happen with time and intention and like space and oxygen. Like those things do not happen overnight. So that's even more reason why we need to start this process of resting with ourselves so that we can rest with others, so that we can hold space and like still be able to tell history and tell stories
Mhm.
to this generation and the next generation so that they can continue down the line. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's how we keep that resistance going. And it's not about like, how can we solve every single problem right now? Because, like, for me, and then I'll wrap it up. For me, if every generation who came before me was like, I have to solve every single problem that is fighting my community right now, I have to like just go in and give it all. I wouldn't have gotten here.
Yeah.
What do I have control over? What can I impact? And what situations and circumstances do I have to make do with what is, and not like, well, it used to be like, that's not where we are right now. And as
Mhm.
lovely as it is to know that and to educate people on that, that's not where we are right now.
Mhm.
And I'm not interested in a rest, joy, or care that bypasses reality.
Mm. Yeah.
And we can leave it there.
Well, yes. Oh, I love this conversation, and there's so many more pieces, so thank you for this,
Yeah.
and where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm starting to add YouTube videos at the Jordan Maney. On LinkedIn, it's just Jordan Maney. You can also find me at jordanmaney.com and sign up for my newsletter, The Rest Stop. And I'm bringing more podcast episodes to the Rest Lab podcast that are going to be like more fun and experimental, because the Rest Lab is all about experimenting and having fun with your rest. So,
I love it. Yay, okay. So all of those will be in the show notes, so everyone go check them out, and just to wrap up, I ask 2 questions. The first being, what does it mean to you to be unlimited?
ooh, to let go of the internalized oppressor I have in my head who
Mm.
gatekeeps me from the things that I want to do or the ways that I want to be perceived. I feel like cutting that cord and letting them go is where I think of immediately when I think of being unlimited.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And when you want to tap into that unlimited feeling, what song do you listen to?
Ooh, I think it's because I said unlimited, which made me think of Wicked, which made me think of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. But there's
Mm.
also there's also a song called Beating Down Your Block. I don't know why, but I feel like such a baddie when that song comes on. She's just like cussing and she's being so crude. And I love that because like I grew up such a goody two shoes. And so it feels like, let me have that edge. Let me be that way. Why
Mhm.
not? Why not me? So Monaleo, Monaleo. Super fun. But yeah, that's the song. I would say Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Beating down your block like a
I
specter.
love it. I have so when people give 2 songs, that is often something that I notice is, like, very divergent,
Mhm.
and I think that I mean, that speaks to that unlimitedness, like, it
Yeah.
just is it's expansive, so I will add them to the
Love,
unlimited podcast playlist
love.
so folks
So
can
excited.
listen to them there. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
me, Jordan.
you.
I have just really enjoyed this conversation.
This was so fun. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone listening, and yeah, y'all go rest, please.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed listening to this conversation as much as I did having it. And just a reminder that you too can join the conversation. There is a link in the show notes to send me a short voice message, or you can always email me at valerie@valeriefriedlander.com. I love to hear from you if you have questions, comments, topics you'd like me to engage in this podcast. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I will answer every single message I receive. If you would like support with any of the things that we've spoken about, please reach out to Jordan or myself. Again, links for all the things are in the show notes. And I will talk to you all next time.